This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to another episode of Beauty and the Beast. Oh, the Beauty and the Priest. It's been, we've had a Christmas break and now here we are back again, and you can see that we're out of practice. Well, I'm out of practice. So welcome to another episode of Beauty and the Priest. I'm Fiona.
And I'm Jim. And today what we thought would be worthwhile talking about is times to change, or should I leave, should I go? Because at the moment, the start of 2022, when we're recording this, it seems that there's a lot of talk about changing jobs or the great resignation, particularly when it comes to should I change careers?
Yeah.
Do I really want to go back to working in an office again? You know, we've moved out of the country now, or a sea change or whatever else like that. Should I stay? Should I go?
Should I stay or should I go? Yeah,
that's it. That's the theory.
It is. A lot of people have been really reevaluating their career choices, not even just career, but how they're doing life in general, like what their life balance is. So what is your take on that?
It's a tough one. Not that I've got all the answers, of course, but I can only sort of talk from my own experience. I've had quite a few different careers in my life, quite a few different jobs in my life too. There is a difference, I think.
Yes.
Sometimes as a career, you'll make different sacrifices for different purposes, as opposed to a job that you're just doing these things to get this money to do whatever else you want to really do with your life.
Yeah.
So I think if it's a career that you're talking about the possibility of changing, whether it's something within the same type, or if it's something where you're changing companies or whatever else like that, there's a whole lot of moving parts and a whole lot of variables. And it seems to me in these last few months, I've been approached by so many different people talking about, hey, I've just had an offer for blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And that seems to be something that's happening so often that I thought it was worthwhile talking about. So with me, when it's come to the idea of changing jobs or careers or paths like that, employment, if you like, one of the things that's stuck with me, I think the science has been pretty settled since the 80s, if not before, that people don't leave jobs, they leave bosses.
Yeah.
So typically, if you've got a boss or even the office culture or the workplace culture that you're involved in, if that is not one that's really resonating with you well, that's probably, I would argue, the most important thing to get right. For those with children, if your child's not sleeping at night, it doesn't matter what you're doing the rest of your life, that's going to affect everything. Well, I think it's the same thing. If you go to work, you're spending the majority of your waking hours with these people, certainly Monday through Friday, typically. You want to make sure that it's going well for you. It's not really just about the dollars, but it's about making sure that you are in a culture that works well for you. So that's the first thing I would suggest.
Yeah, totally agree. And the other thing is that people also, every single one of us goes through different seasons and we go through different stages. And I kind of call it phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And like research has shown that actually we go through 3 career changes in a lifetime. And sometimes there's something that happens to us around our 30s, and it's not like 30 years old, it's anywhere around that space. And then even again later on, maybe later in your 40s. And some people get the one job and stay with it their whole life, and others will go through those 3 changes. It depends on your family of origin, your beliefs, and also whether you think you can. And what you mentioned earlier is about there's jobs that are your career and they're your passion and you pour your heart and soul into it. And the other that I call the investor in your passions and your purpose, right? So a job can just be the investor, because in coaching and stuff, a lot of people go, well, you know, why do some people know what to do when they're passionate about what they're doing? Well, you know, that's different, and that's not always the case. You might just show up to a job so you can get the money to invest in what your life purpose is. So with the different reasons, it is, I have left jobs that have been toxic, and yes, people leave bosses, and it's like the sales pitch, people buy from people, they don't buy from businesses. But if you are not getting your corporate culture, and like, I'll just throw it out there that that's what I do in my training and coaching, is work on workplace wellbeing, culture, happiness, and high functioning, and looking after your staff, then it's time to go if you can't change it. And that's why a lot of people leave their jobs. So it's important to create a space where people don't want to leave. So why do people leave, and when should you leave, and what are you leaving to? I think the real, like, what people really struggle with is, what if no one else will have me? What if I can't get another job? What if I'm no good at that other job? And they just go through that swirling self-doubt and but I'm safe here. I've already got a job here. What if I go there and I actually, like, then I'll, it doesn't work out? Well, what if you do go there and it's even better and it's everything you've ever dreamed of? And it's just another thing in life that we have to sometimes take the risk to find out what we're capable of. But for you, like you have said, you have had a few different career changes, and I've done the same thing. So I started out as a hairdresser, and then I went into call centers, and throughout that I was like team leader and team manager, and went into training, and that's where I found a real passion for training, which is what I'm still doing now. But what if you don't know what to do, and then you're stuck there? It can be bad for both you and the company that you're working for, because you're not giving your best and you're not getting your best.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the $64,000 question? Is that what it is?
Yeah, sure. It is now.
Yeah, sure, it is now. It's like the $1 million question. When is it the right time to leave your work? So what is your take on, like, that, the answer to that question? When is the right time to move on?
Yeah, I think there's even another thing to consider, just based on what you just said before, Fiona. I think, like, with that whole idea of should I leave, shouldn't I leave, what if it's worse, what if it's better, all those different things. I think one of the key items in that space is to think about or making sure, in fact, that you leave well, or as well as you can. It's not like set fire to the place as you go type of thing and burn bridges or whatever. That is never a good idea, no matter which way you spin it. There's any number of reasons why you don't like where you were or have been or whatever, but you don't need to set fire to the place. You can leave well. But did you ask some of the reasons why I left? Some of the reasons why I've left is because I really felt driven to a different type of career. So when I was 19, I worked in credit management, so debt retrieval. I really didn't like it, but it was kind of my career choice. That's what I was getting involved in, and it took me. It was a 3-hour commute every day, so an hour and a half in and then an hour and a half out. And I actually think I was 18 at the time. I don't think I had my driver's license at the time. And they were big days, and so I was borderline exhausted the whole time, Monday through Friday. So it wasn't too much of a stretch to get out of that and go and do something different. So I think for me, either actually getting a piece of paper and saying pros and cons, and doing that for where I am and then where I'm going to, or even just conceptually or talking it out with friends or whatever, they're all viable ways of considering what's the best thing going to be.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, of course, when it's not a good idea to leave, is financially. You know, if you're being romanced away by, say, you're in a highly sought after career type, and the competitor has approached you for a business lunch, and they're promising you an extra $1,000 a month or a year or whatever the difference is going to be, that's never going to be a good idea. That's never going to be the best reason, because what that's effectively meaning is that all you've ever been doing this for is money.
Chasing money, yeah.
And if it's just, I know it's easy to say that, but in the developed world, I think that's something that's really important to remember.
Yeah.
That you're making a career choice, or you're making a choice on who your friends are going to be, who the people are going to spend most of your time with.
Yeah. And if you are, like, if that has happened, it's okay to do that if you've weighed up all that other stuff as well. If you've weighed up, if you've found out that, this is still, using my gifts, my passions. I'm still focused on my why I do this. Like that's always the thing that I line myself up with. Like when I'm about to say yes or no to something, does this line up with my why?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, and so the thing is, like when, you know how they say the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So if the new company is looking greener and has beautiful flowers, don't forget it comes at a cost. So if they're offering more money, they very well may be wanting more of you, more time, more pressure, more all of that sort of stuff. And may not be. It may be a very cushy 9-to-5 job, and they're wanting to pay you more money. But just make sure you line up all those other things before you make that step into the more money. There's nothing wrong with making more money. There's nothing wrong with taking another job and stretching yourself and growing and blossoming in a different area, but not because of the money. Like that should just be that's just the cherry on the pie of you being able to be your best self and show up and do your best work.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point about that, is not to chase the money, because the money can come at a cost as well. But
money is a really strange thing, though, I think, because I've worked with, I went to uni with one of the lecturers who said that she never asks about the money, and she's never asked about that ever, whenever she's gone for a job or whatever. And at the time, I remember this was back in the 90s, and I was thinking, that's crazy. Like, how do you know? Like, what if you get there and they're paying you like $100 a week less than you're expecting, or less than you can accept? I certainly at that time, and I don't even know if it's even now, I didn't have that as a luxury. Like, this is a bare minimum I need to be putting into my bank account after my expenses every week to be able to, you know, I've got family, all those different things. Like, if it's not going to do that, we're wasting each other's time.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. And so there's the ones that really just are that deep into, I want to be able to make a difference. I want to be able to do what I enjoy doing, regardless of how much money. I've got to be honest, I go into something, I'm different to that. Like I go, here's what I'm worth. Yeah. And if you are not, because I have blood, sweat and tears that has gone into my experience and my knowledge and my skills and learning, and what I can offer you is worth a lot. I know how much that would offer a business. And I went for a job interview, and I won't say the name of the company, but it was it's a large car company, and they wanted someone to go in and set up an entire unit in the business, which is where I specialize in call centers and customer service, and set it all up from scratch. And I had experience in that, both working in the call center industry, but as a consultant, consulting in that space as well. And I went in there, went through the 3 interviews that it took, and I told them exactly what I'm looking for right up front, and that was my non-negotiable figure. And then at the end, when we were all ready to sign the paperwork, they gave me the offer, and I laughed. I literally laughed, and I went, you know, no. And I said to them, the person that will take this amount is not qualified to do what you want them to do, is not going to be able to do it. But so, there's also that as well. And so I think it's important to say there's no right or wrong in that space either, whether you go, no, I'm worth X amount of dollars, or whether I don't care how much it is, as long as I can use my skills, enjoy what I'm doing and make a difference. So you do you, whatever that space is.
Yeah, that's I think that's a valid point to make. I think for me, there have been times where I've just thought, I can't take this anymore in different workplaces where I've been, and I've thought, and that can be quite destructive. There's only so long I can think that, well, I tend to think there's only so long where you can keep on doing that thing and not become bitter. And it can really embitter you if you keep on doing that.
Absolutely.
And then little things can go off. And I think, I don't even know if this is true, but the increase of things like road rage and things like that, people going at McDonald's because they gave them the wrong fries or whatever else like that. Yeah. They're not doing that because they're the wrong fries.
It's an accumulation of stress. Yeah,
that's right. What's going wrong with your life?
Yep.
And I think that's got to be worth something.
Absolutely.
Every job is going to be stressful in some type. That's why it's going to work for a reason.
the stress should be the lower end of the spectrum to the reward and the value and all that sort of stuff that you're getting out of it. And this is the one thing that I think what you mentioned right at the beginning is that people have reevaluated over the last couple of years. Now, we're in Melbourne, so we are the longest lockdown area in the entire world throughout the COVID pandemic. So how many days was it? Like,
it was almost a year or two.
Yeah, it was 350 or something. So yeah, we were locked down for a very long period of time, and a lot of people reevaluated. I mean, people all over the world did, but particularly in our circle, I really feel nearly everybody had that conversation with themselves. And it's about well-being. So people now want to have mental health and well-being and balance, and realize that the money isn't as important as that. So the money should be the last thing that you tick out of all your boxes for how do I want to spend 1/3 or half of my waking hours, basically, 8 hours. And if you are in a toxic environment, and this is the thing that businesses don't know, you create a toxic environment, or you create an environment that doesn't nurture well-being, that doesn't take care of its people. The good ones are going to go. The bad ones that have no other option or belief in themselves will stay. And before you know it, you have got a culture and a company working at about this level because you've chased off all of the good ones. They've gone somewhere where they are valued, they are cared for. So it's a corporate social responsibility as well to take care of your people. And I think it's a Richard Branson thing. Train your people so well that they'll never leave. Train them so well that they can go anywhere they want. Treat them so well that they won't. They'll stay with you. And that's a thing. So trying to dial it back to the original question is, should I stay or should I go? I think if a job is impacting your well-being, which then impacts you at home, like you said, Jim, is then higher incidences of road rage, probably domestic unsettling at home as well. And also just self-worth and all of those other things that happen to a person. If any of that is going on, it's time to go. And that's the sort of thing you look for as well. So the questions, you need to interview the company that you're about to potentially go and work for. Don't let them ask you the interview. I've always interviewed the people that are trying to hire me. And see if I want to be there.
That's right. I would think just a little asterisk on what you said, though. I would at least give the employer where you currently are the idea that things aren't going too well here. At least have that conversation, and not with the implied threat. Things aren't going too well here, and I'm thinking about going. Just things aren't going too well here. Just letting you know that such and such erupted at the tea and coffee area the other day, or such and such broke down because of whatever. And it's the workplace itself. It's starting to really get this. Stress isn't doing too well here. At least start flagging
the opportunity. Absolutely agree, because sometimes they aren't aware, because you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes they're not aware that it's happening until you tell them. And like, as you know, like I coach a lot of leaders, and then when they saying to me about this is happening and that's happening, I'm like, the first thing you need to do is go and talk to them about it and explain what the situation is and what it's causing you. So we teach them how to have those feedback sessions. This is happening and I feel, because it's not them finger pointing. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling whatever. And most of the time they'll go, oh my God, I didn't know. Because guess what? That poor bugger is also under the same pressure, and they're also stressed, and they're also probably struggling. So if you don't give them the opportunity, but then if you've done that and they're like, well, too bad, if you don't like it, there's the door.
It's all in your head or whatever. It's like, okay, well.
If they're a suck it up or there's the door kind of person, it's time to go, okay, you don't deserve me. I mean, I don't deserve to, you know what I mean? So and I think it's really important that we're doing something that, and this is where, if you are thinking maybe of transitioning into a different career or even into just the same field but a different job, is to find a coach that specializes in self-awareness. I'm not promoting myself, even though that's what I do, but you know, there are other people out there. There's plenty of people that can coach you into making sure that your next step is actually the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And don't do it because you wouldn't go. I was going to say you wouldn't go shopping online without trying something on that people do. That's okay. I wouldn't because I have a very weird shape. Yeah. Okay. So you wouldn't go buy a car without going and sitting in it and driving it and seeing if it's
I've
right.
done that too.
Work with me here. Jim. Work with me here. All right. You wouldn't go and buy a set of false teeth.
True. I wouldn't.
Without making sure they fit. So why would we go take a job without making sure it's the right fit for us by just doing that extra little bit of, and even if you aren't in the position to get a coach, for example, then go online and do a free personality test. There's lots and lots of resources you can find out, well, what are my values? And therefore that helps you line up with your values and the values of the company that you're about to work for. Is there going to be any conflict in that? Your skills, am I able to give? Because the meaning of life is to find your gifts. Your purpose in life is to give them away. So if you're doing a job where you're not actually giving away your gifts and your skills, then that's not going to bring you happiness and fulfillment. And then, of course, do I actually like this space? You know, you don't have to be passionate, like, you know, I'm passionate about Greenpeace, so I'm going to go volunteer there. It doesn't have to be necessarily that, but do I actually like what I'm doing? And do I like what the company stands for and the way they're doing it? Yeah. So there's a lot of check things that you can go through even by yourself to just go, let me just take this time out to just do a bit of a recalibration and go, what do I want to spend my day doing? If today was the last day I was on earth, how would I want to spend it? And of course, you know, we'd spend it at Disneyland, but if today and I had to go to work, what would I want to be doing? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and that's critically important. So we've talked about, I think, a little bit there about leaving. You know, these are the things to watch for when you're leaving. Should I stay? I think that's an important thing to think about. And like I said before, I think it's important if you have decided to stay, not do it with the spirit of, okay, I'll stay as long as, you know, this does or this does not, because that's sort of setting yourself up for an embittered idea. That's never going to be a good idea. Especially, you know, if you're staying somewhere, as long as this continues to happen, or as long as this happens again,
you can put a time limit on it as well. Like if you have spoken to your direct manager or whoever it is that you can speak to and said, look, here's what I need to, here's what I'm experiencing. And this is a constructive way to do it. Here's what I'm experiencing. Here's what I'd really like to see change, and be part of the change. Don't just complain. So if you're going to your manager with a problem, then you're part of the problem. But if you go to them with the solution to the problem that you've identified, then you're part of the solution. So, and then give it some time frames and make sure both parties know what the time frames are. So like, here's the things that I would like to help you with to implement to make this better. Let's give it until this and come back together and reassess. And keep monitoring your mental health, your well-being, your happiness, and how you are. Like, it's always a really good indication. How am I when I go home to my family at night? Have I got some love and bounce left to give them, or am I crawling through the door and like, don't talk to me, everybody just bugger off? Because that's not fair on you, your family, or then them going out into their environment. So that's a good indicator of when it's time to pull the pin. And I've been there. I've dragged my feet through the door when I worked in a really horrible place. And I'm like, no, I didn't even have anything to go to. I'm like, no, I'm either going to, no, I was going to say, he was going to kill someone. No, I wouldn't do that. But I wasn't, like, my mental health went and my energy and motivation went down. So when to stay is if you see possibilities and opportunities after you've had that conversation with your manager and they've gone, oh, wow, just, I didn't know that. Great. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Then you can be part of like development. So I see every problem as an area or opportunity for development and growth. Yeah.
I think one of the things too is when you have that discussion with your immediate superior or whatever, that can be really daunting. I like to think, I actually like writing things down. I know some people don't, but I would rather write a letter or potentially even an email about that, because it's really a one-sided conversation. And we know that communication isn't necessarily the words that you're saying are being adequately received,
Yeah.
but you can ensure that if you write it.
Yeah.
Especially if before you hit send, you potentially get somebody else to have a look or whatever. That can be, try to minimise the way that it might be misconstrued. But
yeah, absolutely.
I really like that as an idea. That way you can thoughtfully put it all down and
Yeah.
say, look, these are the things that are really concerning me.
Yep.
And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I would be happy to have a discussion to talk about it. I want to make sure that you are aware. I think that's
and
really
gives them a chance. That gives them a chance. They won't feel blindsided as well. Like gives them a chance to process it and have a think about it. And if they do get any negative emotions, it gives that a chance to calm down as well, and so they can process it. So it's a really good idea, especially if you don't have that confidence. And look, most people don't like confrontation. There are some people that love it, but most people don't. So it makes it a lot easier. And I've done it myself. I've sent the email because I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm flustered, I have trouble articulating. If you've experienced me flustered, and I'll take about 17 sentences to say 3 words. So yeah, it's about checking in with yourself first. I think sort of that summary is, should I stay or should I go? What am I getting out of this? What am I able to give this? Am I having an impact? Am I feeling valued? Is there something missing? Am I just bored with this job now because I don't feel like I'm getting to be creative, and or is it the environment? So ask yourself all those questions, and like you said, Jim, write down the pros and cons of it, and then just set yourself up to succeed in a way. If you're scared of moving on, write down what might be the possibilities of moving on. It's like, I'm safe here even though I'm miserable, but if I went over there, what could happen that will be amazing in my life? And prepare your brain for, what's the worst case scenario? Let me build a safety net for myself. So if I go there and it does all go to crap, then what's my backup plan? And that makes you feel better about it as well to move on.
Yeah. One of the things I'd like to do as a recruiter, when I've employed people, but also even when I've been recruitee, potential employee, is to meet at a restaurant or a cafe, something like that. I remember reading once, and I can't give you the source. I don't recall where I read this, but it really stayed with me. And that was, if you do that, the people who are recruiting you, assuming they're the ones that you're going to be working with, it's interesting to see how they treat the staff.
Oh, yeah.
They treat the staff very well. Here's a hot tip. They probably won't be treating you that well either. So
that's a really good one. Yeah. Yep.
And I have to say that I really took that to heart, and I can absolutely say it's worked out to be true with me every time. Even so far as I recruited somebody who was one of the servers at the restaurant that I had gone to, and I thought, that person, in the nicest possible way, I feel is wasting their skills here.
Yeah.
When the opportunity came, I just went and got them. I said, "You tell me what I do," and it was great. I never looked back, and it was the best thing. And they thought that years later.
So
the other thing is, if you don't have that as an opportunity, another way that I've done this has been when you're in the waiting room. Conversation with the reception or the director in first impressions. See what they say, and see if you can have a genial type of conversation about, what is it really like working here? What's the best things about working here? Those types of conversations, again, they've proved to be really invaluable. And I've even had the opposite happen when people have gone, look, most people are leaving. Most of us are
run now.
They've got me before too, and I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting.
Oh, look at the time. I must be away. Totally get it. And that's the thing. Like, I think also it's just like any other part of life, is that sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong. Nothing is ever a mistake. Like, nothing is ever lost. So even if you do move on and you don't feel that it's quite right for you, then move on again until it is right for you. And life doesn't have to be the same every day. We all grow, we all evolve, we all change. So therefore, why can't our careers change and our wants change? Our lives have different needs. And it's like, when I had kids, I changed my career when I found myself like I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I separated. I was like, okay, hairdressing not fitting in with my lifestyle anymore, and the late nights, Saturday morning. So I changed careers to suit that. And it wasn't like that, you know, oh, let me go work in a call center was my next. But I loved it, and I found a love for customer service and the whole environment, and I learned everything. So it's like, take a step out there into, if you're not sure, just try something and explore that area and see what it is that you love about it. But don't stay where you're miserable, because life is too short. Make sure you take that first step to talk to your manager to see if it can change. And then if it can't, it's time to like consult with yourself. All right, what will set my heart on fire and use my skills and line up with my values and match my personality? Then start taking those steps into changing. But yeah, don't think you can't change. You don't have to follow the same path. Yeah.
Good point.
But also, it's okay if you do want to. If you want, like some people that have had the same career from 17 to 65, also okay. If that's the way, if that might just be the investor in supporting your family and doing your life. There is no rules except your rules.
True.
That's the thing. So, all right. Any last comments before we wrap this up?
I think just one thing that I've said to a few people who have asked me this in the various different careers that I've had, and that has been like, what would I change anything, or what should I really look at in doing those things? And I don't know how this came to me, but I thought there are people across the planet who are locked into roles. Like it's either the cultural place where they are, or financially, or whatever else like that. They simply have no choice. This is the job that they do because that's the only job that really pays enough. And when we're in the developed world, we don't really have that. I mean, a place like Australia, you'd have to try really hard to starve to death. You know, it's really hard to do that. And when you've got that sort of social safety net, when your basic needs are going to be met for you, and there are so many people who want to rally behind you and around you and really see you thrive and get beyond the survival thing. We kind of owe it to people, I think, that who don't have those opportunities to just make the most of the go that we have.
Yeah,
it's really stayed with me for so long, and I've really thought, look, you know, there's so many people who don't have these opportunities. I kind of owe it to them, if not me, to just, you know, play boots and all, go hard.
Be your best self and live your best life. And that's
right.
work, life, relationships. It's like show up as your best and chase the dream. Like, you know what? God created us very, very specifically with a specific set of values, passions, personalities, skills. Just find out what that is and go give it away. You can give it away for money or you can give it away for hobby, but find your gifts and give them away. It's really as simple as that. So go be your best self. Yeah.
That's it.
Love it. Well, thank you, Jim, and thank you for watching another episode of Beauty and the Priest. Sorry about that at the beginning. We look forward to seeing you for another episode, and take care, and bye for now.